Yeah, whatever. 150.
Woo!
150.
That's right. That's pretty awesome. And also joining us is your co-host Hunter.
There's a party going on right here. Celebration. 150. What's up, guys?
That's pretty fucking great. And
Channel Jim. Link to img.exceed.com.
yeah. So folks, it is the 150th show, and we're pretty excited about this. We were going to have a guest, but for the second time,
We've killed them.
for the second time in under a few weeks, our guest is MIA. I don't know where they are.
Wait. I found him. He was under the couch.
So, yeah, right now we do not have a guest. So here's the thing, folks. We're going to use this this episode to introduce a new format / structure to the show. We are going to be trying this out, see if it works.
It's the new guest-free format.
Well,
More
yeah,
guests.
we were going to talk to the developer of Fleets of Soul, which came out a little early. I had a release date of today for this one, but it came out on Friday. So I'm not sure if coming out on April Fool's Day was intentional. But we were supposed to have the developer and creator of that on, but he can you guys keep it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know where he is. I talked to him earlier today. But folks, here's what the new format is going to be. Usually, it's going to be this kind of introductory area. We're going to talk some news, and then I guess for this show, we're going to talk a topic or some randomy stuff, and then we'll wrap it up. So, but
Now for the news.
yeah, but when we have a guest, we're going to have 2 sections on a game that we're talking about, basically the general information and background of the game, and then we're going to talk about like technical stuff. So like we wrote up questions and stuff. We're prepared. Oh my God. So guys, not only are we going to have a structure, which is new for us, but we were actually prepared, which is also new for us. Yeah, I don't know what happened to it.
You're always preparing. Just go.
So let's start with the news. We have a few stories to talk about this week. The first is that Ascent, the space game, got a massive new patch, which updated the graphics, updated the UI, which it desperately needs, and adds piracy, and apparently co-op piracy as well. So now you can fight pirates. And I played a little of this today to test out the new UI. And some of the elements of the old UI are still there, which makes it look a little weird. But on the whole, it's definitely in the right direction. It is.
So when you turn on piracy, does it BitTorrent itself then, or what?
I don't know. I don't.
It gets meta. You know,
It's like a self-licking ice cream cone.
Speaking of meta, I was introducing my wife to the Sims games.
Yeah.
And earlier today, one of my Sims characters sat down at a computer and started playing The Sims. I about lost my shit. Just gonna say right then. I was like, wow, this game's deep.
Yeah.
It plays itself.
Oh, yeah. The Sims is. Oof. I can't do The Sims. I've tried, and I can't.
Anyway, sorry. It was just
No,
funny to me because he
fine.
said that. But no, so yeah, tell us, you really liked it, huh?
Yeah, it's so much. I mean, like I said, there's still some elements of the old UI, which is a little weird. But yeah, it is so much better in so many ways. Like, it just looks like a more modern game rather than some weird early 2000s throwback thing, which it looked like before. You know?
It's on my radar. I've got it installed. I think I've been meaning to give it a go, but
It's a good relaxing game. Like, think if like Elite and Astrox had a baby. It would
Sure.
kind of be like that.
Still better than Elite. Okay, so
Yeah, there's a lot
So-
more you can do in it than Elite.
between this and what was the other game that we played that was a spacey MMO that was on Android?
Vendetta Online.
Yeah, between
Coming
this
up
and
in 2
Vendetta,
weeks.
this and Vendetta, what would you say is better?
Oh God. It depends on what you're going for. If you're going for a more economic type thing with more trading, colony building, that kind of thing, then I would say Ascent. But if you're looking for more of a flight, more piloting, more combat, then definitely Vendetta Online.
I'm thinking that Ascent is more like a FedEx game because it from right from the get go.
It can be.
Oh,
It
deliver
can be,
some
yeah.
grain here, and then go over there and deliver this mail, and then take
Yeah,
a
the
widget over
economy
there.
the economy is a much bigger deal in Ascent.
Well, I
than
mean, I
in-
never even got to that. It was just like the do this, do that. You know, it was the honeydew list, right? And it's
Right.
like, okay, when does the game happen? And it was all autopilot too. There was like no manual flying that I was doing.
Yeah, and you can do manual flying, but it's all mouse, and it's not even like freelancer mouse. It's all like just right click and move, and it's mostly autopilot stuff. So yeah, if you want to feel like you're flying a spaceship and doing combat missions, Vendetta Online. If you want to feel like you're in a galactic economic sim with base and colony building, Ascent. Because you can
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give Ascent a go then, because I do like that.
Yeah, Ascent has probably some of the best mining I've ever seen in a game. It's a pretty good little mining mini game. Plus, yeah, you can build colonies and stations for other people to trade at, and there's like smuggling in your colonies if you like don't hire enough security for it, for example. And apparently, if your colony is unsupervised long enough, pirates can take it over now. Apparently,
Oh,
so
that's cool.
yeah, it's deep. There's a lot going on here, and I dig it. It's like, ugh. Yeah, there's a lot going on, and it's pretty great. I dig it, folks. You should definitely check it out. I think you can play it for free, but I think you can play it. I think for free, and then you could sign up for like their premium stuff, which is like $4 a month or something.
That's where a lot of MMOs have turned to recently, and I actually kind of like it if it's done right.
Yeah, and I think I think with Ascent it's done right.
Kind of like with Star Wars: The Old Republic, you can
Yeah.
play for free, but they nickel and dime the crap out of all the other stuff. So, yeah.
I think Vendetta does a pretty good job of it too. You can play for free for 8 hours, get a feel of the game. And if you're on Android, you can subscribe for like $1 and get a few more levels if you really want to do it, So it's kind of interesting they have that tier system going.
Yum on.
Are you guys looking at Mumble? Is he there at all?
We don't see him. I don't see him.
Weird.
I've been keeping my eye on YouTube chat as well.
Okay, I'll just keep an eye out. So the next bit of news is EVE Online has another massive war going on. Apparently, correct me if I'm wrong, Hunter, because I read about it today. A corporation or an alliance with 40,000 people in it decided to kind of poke a smaller alliance, thinking they would just roll over them, and they didn't. And they weren't prepared for that.
Yeah. Yes and no. Like,
Okay.
So, essentially what's going on right now, it's kind of like with Fallout 4 or War Never Changes. That's always been the story with EVE Online. War Never Changes with EVE Online. Something happens and somebody gets mad. So, essentially what's gone on for the longest time is when the Goonswarm Corporation kind of came into being, they over time asserted themselves as a dominant force in the EVE Online universe. And from within inside of that, they have now crowned themselves as the Imperium. And the Imperium is essentially a coalition of alliances, if you will, that dominates most of the northwest part of the map and going along down the west part of the map as well. If you were to look, I know it's space, you're like, well, which way is west? They do have an orientation for it if you look at it a certain way, that everybody just orients it that way when talking about the EVE Online universe. So it's pretty crazy. So the Imperium essentially is almost like one of those things where like nobody screws with the Imperium because they're just, they're always got the numbers, they've always got the bigger numbers. So what's going on now is there are some other alliances that are just tired of the Imperium. They're done. Well, most of these alliances are actually not friendly with one another, but it's the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of mentality is what's going on.
Right.
So a lot of them are currently under temporary friendships to whoop the Imperium's ass.
Wow.
Now, the funny thing about this is one particular, I believe it was either an alliance or a corporation within the Imperium's ranks dropped friendlies with the Imperium because they felt like they were betrayed. Now, there's a lot going on with that. There's a lot of political stuff that goes on with that, and it's very interesting how in a video game there are serious politics involved. And I say serious, that's kind of it's kind of silly. But yeah, no, there's all these politics involved. Some of the politics also stem around Kickstarter that was started to write this book, and some players of the community thought it was a way that they were trying to rewrite history in some parts, but also raise money for themselves and others. And a lot of people just didn't feel like it was under appropriateness or whatever you want to call it. I don't know how to call it. So anyway, the Kickstarter failed, right?
Huh. That's interesting.
So yeah, it's been a very interesting thing. So they had the second largest battle in EVE Online's history, which recently just happened. I forget the name of the system, but it was the second largest battle. And I think at one point they said that there was a total of 5,000 and something players in one system at one time at its peak.
Jeez.
So then that was the battle in the one main system, but the war itself consisted of more than just that 5,000 because you have the surrounding systems take into consideration where there was also concurrent fighting going on. So there was you also have to take into consideration two time zones. So you have the Europeans that are at a certain point, then you also have the American time zone where there's some crossover, and you have to strategically plan this out for when you're awake and when you're not. And EVE Online's like a second job, so some people take it that seriously. So
I wonder if like absenteeism at offices has taken a spike since the war has started. Find out.
That would be an interesting statistic to look at with not just EVE Online, but with some games in general.
I know plenty of people that have release day flu, right? It's just like, oh no, the new Warcraft expansion's out, and like half the IT department's out that day for some reason.
Right. No, that's exactly a thing. But it is interesting. I would like to try and see what kind of correlation there is between big wars like this in EVE and real world statistics, because they like to put the numbers out there, right? So like the last big war cost something like, I'm throwing a number out here and I'm probably way off, but I also know that it was a really high number. I want to say it was like 300,000 in real dollars that was destroyed in internet spaceships.
Jesus.
Internet spaceships. Things that don't even really exist in the real world, but actually have real monetary value. When you talk about the Plex,
the Plex, yeah.
When you
internet spaceships, serious business.
It in a lot of ways.
In EVE, it is. In EVE, it's very serious business.
So it's just like, in game, like a Titan cost in real world money like $3,000 or some stupid amount like that. And I'm thinking to myself, good God, that is not far from living in the Matrix. I mean, yeah. So yeah, this second war it was a pretty big deal, and to I wouldn't say commemorate the war, but the timing couldn't have been better. There is an officially sanctioned book that was written. CCP officially sanctioned this book called The Empires of Eve. And there is actually a wonderful YouTube video talking about the siege of C-J6MT, which was the beginning of one of the first Great Wars that happened in 2006. So there is the EVE Online news.
Yeah, I like I've said, I don't really want to play the game, but hearing the stories come out of the game is just fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
Well, Crazy Logic Films, it's interesting because the thing about Star Citizen with buying internet spaceships, and the thing about EVE Online is the ones in EVE Online you can actually play with. So I'm not buying pictures. I'm actually buying something that I'm using in the game.
You can kind of play them now.
No. There's a whole bunch of them that aren't even in there yet. So,
really?
And the ones that are, last time I checked, didn't even work right, unless somehow you happen to have the exact same thing that the devs are working with. Them dev videos are pretty spectacular, aren't they? Somehow there's not a single glitch in the dev videos. Makes me wonder.
It's almost like it's pre-rendered CG.
So I have a side note about Star Citizen. I have not been able to download it in months. It keeps stalling on me.
So now even the downloader doesn't work.
Well,
that's a good way to keep people from knowing how busted your shit is. If you just break the downloader.
Here's the funny thing. Someone emailed me about it and said, look, they switched to torrents or something. So if you want to download successfully, you have to turn off anything else that uses the internet. Like, I'm like, what? Like,
no,
yeah,
that's stupid.
That's what this gentleman said, and he was trying to be helpful. I'm not upset with him or anything. He was trying to be helpful, but hang on a second. Yeah, he's noticed that they switched to their torrent tech downloader. Every time I need to download it, it saturates his bandwidth. If he does anything else that requires the internet or computer that's downloading, it will stall the Star Citizen downloader. He's learned to pause it manually before doing anything else on the internet, and then restart it and leave his computer alone to have it continue. Also, he has to make sure no one in the house is using the Wi-Fi, since it will drag.
Dial-up.
I'm just saying, to go through all that, it seems ridiculous. It's very frustrating, and it's not really conducive to me playing the game like at all. So yeah, people sometimes ask me, why don't you have more Star Citizen videos?
Oh yeah, Cardbolt is right. I think you do have to completely remove everything and install it from scratch.
I did. I had to reinstall Windows a couple of months ago, and so I did, and yeah, it still stalls.
Hey, you want to hear my Derek Smart impression?
Sure.
Yes. So.
Yes.
Told you so.
Anyway, so our last piece of news, just a small piece of news. The Hard Light Productions newsletter came out recently. They do a newsletter every month telling people what's going on in the Free Space Open community. And
hey, we have somebody in the public channel up above us.
Wait, what? What?
BPG Stocks, is that?
Oh, I think that's him.
Would you let me bring him down real quick? Or?
Yeah, do it.
BPG_stocks moved in from public channel by
Hello? Excuse me, sir. Is your mic turned on?
Chris, is that you? I think that is him. Yeah, BPG is probably Big Planet Games. So I'm pretty sure that is him. But yeah,
Brian, finish up your news. Yeah.
All I was gonna say is that apparently there's a small mini campaign now for Free Space 2. And I know someone personally, like a 2-3 mission mini campaign someone released. It looks really nice. And someone I know is working on a Star Wars total conversion that looks goddamn incredible. Like, seriously incredible. And they included a bunch of screenshots on that. So, folks, we will be including all this stuff in the show notes for each episode now. So, if don't worry about, finding links for this news. We'll definitely be including it because we're going to actually have show notes for each episode post now. How funny.
BTG_stocks moved in from public channel by table for
Is Chris having some... Oh, Chris, are you there? I wonder...
Earth to Chris.
I wonder if he's having some microphone...
He's in the Matrix.
He might be having some microphone issues.
Yeah, Mumble has some weird configuration issues, I will admit.
Yeah.
Well, he has perms to talk in here, right? It's nothing like
Oh, well, I unmuted him when I brought him
Yeah.
up. But there is also the little chat channel on the side. Chris, can you type if you can hear us? Hello?
So, folks, it seems like our guest has shown up right... Oh, I think he just left. He just disconnected. So, it looks like we are going to have a guest to talk to. This has been a funny... Let's talk a minute about 150 shows. We started this podcast back in February of 2013.
a funny thing happened on the way to 150.
Yeah, so it was Jim's idea. You contacted me, I think, via Steam one day and said, hey, you have a headset. We should do this. All right.
Yeah, blame me. Whatever.
No, I think it's worked out rather well. So, yeah, we've been doing this for a little over 3 years now, and we've talked to a lot of great people. It's been a really great run, I think. And it's kind of funny how, like, the longer we go, it seems we're getting more guests. I don't know if you've noticed, but, like, the next 2 months are full of guests, which is unusual for us. So it looks like we're getting more attention. It looks like more people want to be on the show, which is great because, we get to talk to some awesome people and we get free games. I'm not going to lie. That's a nice part of this, is getting free games. Uh-oh. I think I just got an email from our guest. Oh, having some technical difficulties. So
we'll continue.
Yeah, so Jim, what do you think has been our best show? I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you think has been our best show? And I have an idea of what that is.
It was that time when I was in Florida.
Oh, wait, what?
That was the one I wasn't on.
When was that?
It was vast improvement. Whenever I went down to Disney. It was like last February, and you had the Quintet guys on.
Oh, no, that wasn't improvement. I was going to say the guy from Artemis, when we found out he was a producer at Interplay and worked on The Secret of Vulcan Fury. That was probably, I think, one of our craziest and finest moments.
True. I thought the Astrox show was really fun. That just for being a pure fun show.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then just a couple weeks ago, I cannot for the life of me remember what game we were talking about. The guy that was on, and he was just awesome.
Let's see. A couple weeks ago, I could look right here. We had
BTG_stocks moved in from public channel by table for.
Let's see if we hear him. A couple weeks ago, we had Star Command Galaxies or Concealed Intent.
Oh yeah, the Star Command guys. Those dudes were great.
Those guys were pretty funny because they had a really just fun attitude about gaming.
Oh yeah.
So go ahead.
I wouldn't say I've necessarily had a favorite show, but I've had favorite moments while being a part of the show, though.
Like what?
Well, there was the episode that Jim recorded that interview with Dave Westman.
Oh yeah.
That I felt like was an awesome interview that I wish I could have been a part of.
I know.
and the time you guys got to interview the Gearbox dudes for the new Homeworld game, which pissed me off so much that I couldn't be on that show. I was so mad, but I was really glad that we got to do that one. And I think lastly, the thing that I've really just appreciated while being on the show was getting to do stuff like what Jim and I got to do with the Infinity Battlescape guys, where they took us on just this, what was it, like almost a 2-hour long tour of their game, and so things like that, So I think just being along for the ride and just having a lot of fun, getting to know some of these guys and talk to some of them, and it's been quite entertaining. I think when we had oh God, I feel really bad now. He's in our Facebook group a lot. He's from, what is it, New Zealand, Australia?
Oh.
Anyway, that guy. he was probably one of my favorites personally.
Yeah,
it's gonna kill me that I can't think of his name right now, and I'm sorry if he's watching.
Okay.
I feel really bad.
Tim
that time when Brian wasn't here and we played Mech Warrior all night. Yeah, that was a good one.
Tim Tarsky is asking if we're ever going to stream from New Eden. That's the Eve.
Oh,
that's Eve, right? That's
who was it? Hufan or who? You guys know who I'm talking about.
No, my brain is mush right now.
Oh,
this guy. Hoy. Thank you. God. Hoy, I'm so sorry. I could not remember your damn name, but your game was really great, and it was awesome having you on the show because we learned about the Chrome engine for developing games. Was it Chrome?
Yeah, it was Chrome. Yeah, that was a very educational show.
That was such an educational show. Like, holy shit, I learned so much.
Show. Okay, Chris is... I'm not sure what's happening. Folks, here's the thing about Mumble. Mumble is great for a lot of things, but it seems to be somewhat of a challenge to get set up for some people.
There's certain people it hates.
Yeah, we don't know why. But it's a shame because Skype is just such a bitch anymore that like we don't even know we don't even know how to record from it anymore.
Yeah, they broke it completely. So
yeah.
Thanks, Microsoft.
Yeah, I think the way people do it is like, I think what people do is like they have a second computer, from what I understand.
No, well, you can record stuff if you just do like virtual audio cables and whatnot.
Yeah, it sounds like
149 shows I've never had hiccups, and the 150th I do. I'm dying here.
What do you mean?
I got hiccups. It's killing me.
Oh, actual hiccups, not like technical hiccups, but actual.
Right, the actual.
Wow.
Can't talk sometimes. Because...
Well, at least it wasn't as bad as our 4th episode with Chris fucking Roberts, where I couldn't talk because I was coughing so goddamn much. So you got to talk to him the whole time.
Oh, no, I like that.
Yeah.
Me and Chris were like, not at all.
That
was fun, man. That was one of my. Excuse me. There we go. Hick. That was one of my favorite things. Actually, was talking to him about the Wing Commander movie, because I was completely not expecting him to go down that rabbit hole for like 40 minutes
of the movie. Yeah, guys. Episode 4. We had episode 4. Like way back then, we had Chris Roberts on, and Jim actually probed him about the Wing Commander movie.
Both of you guys are dying now. Guys, I'm the new host of Space Game Junkie Podcast, and joining me, as always, is none of these guys.
And he was very...
Don't say I probed Chris Roberts, because that doesn't sound good.
You poked him.
Moving on.
You asked him point blank about the Wing Commander movie, and he was surprisingly and awesomely forthcoming about all of its problems.
Oh, yeah.
It was amazing.
Hey, do you guys remember that time that Jim probed Chris Roberts?
Yeah. What is Crazy Logic Films talking about with the new SS update? What does that mean?
The new System Shock?
I don't know.
Yeah, they're doing like a remake of System Shock 1. It's
Oh.
it's Night Dive doing it.
So
and it looks pretty badass, in fact.
Oh, Shallow Space.
Can Chris hear us at all? Because if he can, there's the chat feature to the left there in Mumble. I want to see if he can hear us at all.
AC Wraith is saying that Robot Loves Kitty. I don't know who they are, but apparently they've switched.
Oh, Shallow Space.
Apparently they've switched to Discord, which Discord is nice and all, but it doesn't have any recording capabilities like this does.
Built into it, but we're considering it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean there is a lot to like about Discord.
We have experimented with many products.
Yes.
Channel table for hello, Chris.
Speaking of experimenting, folks, we are
Channel table for. Can you hear us?
we're talking mostly these days using Slack, which is actually really nice. But if you want to join us in the Slack chat, you need an invite. So let me know if you want an invite, and I will send you one. But Slack is really great.
Slack also integrates well with IRC, and currently I'm investigating the crossover between Slack and Discord, so that way we can have a one big happy chat family.
That'd be really nice. That'd be really, really nice. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Chris here.
He's in the channel, guys. We do see him. He is here.
Yeah, let me. Sorry, folks. I'm really under the weather. My trip. I just came back from Death Valley. And it kicked my ass thoroughly. So I am feeling really, really crappy today. Yeah, see, the problem is, I mean, Discord would be fine if we were just streaming and just talking over a stream, but we also need an MP3 to put on the podcast so people can listen to it in the podcast player. And while I guess we could record from YouTube, it's not as good to record the audio from YouTube if we have the option. I mean, I guess we could do that, but I'd rather not. You know? It doesn't sound as good. I see him playing with his microphone.
Yeah,
such.
Just make sure, Chris, and I'm sure you've probably already checked all this stuff out. But I'm going to reiterate some of these options to you now. If you go to Configure and Settings, there is the audio input and output. Make sure you have all that set up properly. Also, if you're using push to talk, you have to make sure that you go into the shortcuts and bind a key there as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're using push to talk, you have to tell it which key you're using to use push to talk, or else you're screwed. Which you'd think it would be better at telling you this, but
or you might not be hearing any of this. In which case, all right, YouTube. Now you know how Mumble works. Go to Configure.
Hello.
Hey!
Sorry about that, guys.
Hi!
You have no idea what dude, I am talking to you guys through my Vive microphone, because I have no idea how to get my regular microphone to work.
So are we in like sweet 3D? Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm talking to you guys through my Vive headset, basically. I
have a Vive question.
Yeah.
So with NVIDIA, you could get that the liquid crystal shutter NVIDIA 3D glasses, and any game that's 3D, basically you could switch it into 3D mode, right, with the NVIDIA driver. Can you do such a thing with the Vive, even if it doesn't do the head tracking? Can you just flip any game into 3D mode? Because that's the selling point to me, is like, if that works, I'm sold. If not, then I have to get games that are specifically made for it, and I'm going to be a little slower to adopt.
Well, I mean, it's a VR system, right? So VR, I think there's obviously VR games, but I know that they have an app, or they're developing an app where you can play games like regular non-VR games in the headset, and it's like playing on a 50-inch TV, or I don't know the exact size dimensions, but
well, it's basically the NVIDIA drivers have the ability to split any game into stereoscopic,
right.
and I just wonder if they've actually enabled that for headsets.
Not
yet.
that I know of.
See, NVIDIA needs to get on it, like real soon now. In fact.
Well, I will tell my NVIDIA contacts to give me the 411 as to what's going on with that.
Oh, there you go. So how you doing, Chris? Welcome to our show. Sorry that you had the troubles.
No, I don't. Yeah, my fault. I take blame. I take full responsibility for my issues. I got drunk earlier today, so I'm sorry I'm late.
Is that safe? Like drunk and VR? I'm wondering if like acid sales are gonna take a big uptick now because people are gonna be tripping the Rift, however you would say that.
Yeah, I'm saying no. It's not a safe thing to do. Primarily because I think if I would play any VR experience drunk, I think I'd probably actually really get sick instead of like start to feel sick. I'd probably actually get sick. So I don't want puke all over my new Corsair keyboard. So yeah.
Hey Brian, your keyboard is in full effect, by the way.
Sorry.
You're not sorry.
So yeah, your game, Fleets of Soul. Pretty
Yeah.
awesome stuff.
Welcome, man. We were just talking about like how many shows we've done and everything, and you have been. This is your third time, I believe, on the show.
It is. Can we hug it out?
He's here to reveal his new game, the Space Dancing Simulator Train of Soul.
Right.
Yes. Is there gonna be a VR support for that?
Soul Train.
It'll have Vive support, so it actually tracks your hand movements. So you better dance your ass off.
Hey, speaking of Vive support, what about this game? Do you support some VR? That was the talk last time.
So no, like I want to, but UE3 in VR is pretty much oil and water. They don't play nice together at all. So
that's disappointing because last time you were on, you were talking about like that. Wouldn't that be cool if?
Yeah, it would be cool, but no, we are doing another cockpit game. It's not a space game, but it is a cockpit-based game.
What? Wait a minute.
Yeah. Yes. World exclusive. But yes, I know Space Game Junkie and yeah. So we are doing a cockpit-based game, but it's a you fly light aircraft around a open world made up of islands. So you fly a variety of light aircraft. When I say light aircraft, I mean ultralights. I don't know if you guys are familiar with ultralights, but ultralights, helicopters.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Gyrocopters, and it's all VR. It's all cockpit based, and the cockpit is fully interactive. So you get to actually use the motion controls to flip switches and to grab the flight stick and push the throttle and all that good stuff. So
well, the ultralights, depending on what model, like some have a stick, right? But some of them actually have the bar, from the hang glider, and you just move the bar. So that would be cool. Like put your hands out in front of you and just move them left and right and forward and back, and you're actually moving the bar.
Yeah, we use the stick, but doing a bar one wouldn't be very difficult. So that's a good idea. See, I knew there was a reason why I came on here.
Add it to the list.
I always like talking to you guys.
We like having you on. So Fleets of Soul came out Friday, which I thought was kind of funny. Came out of early access on... I wasn't sure if that was a joke or not. Because...
you can't trust anything on that day.
You really can't. You really can't.
Yes, there's... gosh, I don't know how I have so much to talk about with this game. I don't even know where to begin.
Well, at the beginning, I mean, this is like an offshoot / continuation.
Yeah. So how'd the game come about?
Yeah, exactly. Of Fleets of Soul.
Man, I don't. This is such a complicated topic. I don't know how I want to get into it.
You were playing Eve one day, and all of a sudden,
Yeah, well, gosh. Okay, man, this is heavy stuff. I don't know how deep I can get into it. But basically, it was an idea of a guy that worked for us that no longer works for us. And he's in. Yeah, I don't want to go. I don't want to get into it. I really don't, because it's very heavy stuff, and it's not something that it's terrible. It's just terrible, terrible, terrible stuff. And so, but I'll just say this: that the idea came from a mode from Battle of Soul that was meant to sort of try to extend the life of Battle of Soul, and it was a strategy game, survival strategy, and it was meant to, like, when you're done with the campaign, you could go into this mode, and it's just radically different, and such a different sort of experience that it almost extended infinite playability or replayability of Battle of Soul almost indefinitely, because it was such a radical departure from the game, and it was systemic. It wasn't story based, and you just could play, and there was some procedural stuff, so you could every game that you played was a little bit different. And ultimately, I made the decision to separate it into its own project when we were about a month before we shipped Battle of Soul. Primarily because, when you're advertising or you're talking about a scripted sort of space shooter, a cockpit-based space shooter, how do you like start talking about something different, like so radically different? You know what I'm saying? Like, it seems like it would split the message. So and then to ship it to where we were reasonably happy with would basically meant that we would stay in early access for Battle Soul for a significantly longer than what we intended to do. So we decided to split it off into its own separate project, and then we did that, and we shipped Battle Soul, and then I think a couple weeks later, we literally put it out in early access just to see what people thought. And people generally thought it was cool, but it was half-baked and needed a lot of work. And so then we spent a fair bit of time sort of refining it and making it better and improving the UI. And finally, I think it was just time. And I didn't want to put much fanfare into the release for reasons why I don't really want to get into, because it's a really terrible topic to talk about, and it just taints the whole project, and I don't really want to dwell on that. But ultimately, I put it out because I was just ready for it to go, and sort of wash my hands of the UE3 engine, and UE3 engine primarily, not the Soul franchise. I'd love to continue on, but the UE3 engine, I'm kind of done with it. So yeah, there we go.
So will you go to UE4 or Crytek or Unity? Where would you head now?
Well, the game that we're working on now is Unity, but I think after this it'll be UE4. We're going to go back to UE4. I'd love to do a VR Soul game. I mean, I think it. Speaking of coming on and sort of shooting the shit with you guys. I played Eve. I have a Rift and Eve Valkyrie, right? So I loaded that up. Beautiful game.
Oh,
Gorgeous.
is it
right?
good?
I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous of you right now.
I'm a little jealous.
It's a gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful dogfighting game. Absolutely jaw-droppingly gorgeous, and it's fun to play. It's very easy to play, very user-friendly with the gamepad. But here's the deal. One, it's got microtransactions, and and 2, it's entirely multiplayer. I mean, you can play against the AI and sort of skirmishes, but everything else, there's no story really. It's entirely multiplayer driven. And I
So-
guess
Oh,
Did you see the?
Jesus.
Did you see the?
Titanfall. Hello.
Yeah. Did you see the Vive one that came out today? It's also an Eve game, but you're basically in a turret.
yes, Gunjack. So Gunjack is actually a Gear VR game. First, it was originally a Gear VR game, and yeah, your head's basically a turret, and yeah, it's beautiful. But I mean, I have the Gear VR version, and it gets old quickly. Because
Yeah, it's basically a demo kind of thing.
no, I mean they actually think it's a real game. I mean, it's it's
Really?
a mobile game. Yeah, well, it's a mobile game first, so you have to think of it along those lines. Like, it's a Gear VR game, which it's a mobile game. It originally came out for the S6, and beautiful game, beautiful gore. I mean, CCP does amazing graphics, but their gameplay outside of Eve is fairly shallow. Let's just put it that way. It's fairly shallow. So they get graphics and they nail down visual art styles and whatnot, but I don't know. I kind of wish for a story, right? Like a
Well,
mission.
they did that whole marketing thing with what's her face who played Starbuck
Katie
on
Sackhoff.
Battlestar. Yeah,
Yeah.
Katie Sackhoff. They did that whole marketing thing, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself,
What?
"Oh, awesome! Like a story-driven, like first-person piloting Eve game with Katie Sackhoff as my like commander." So it's just
Yep.
like, let's go. And now you're telling me,
Nope.
not so much.
Not even close. It's like a
Wow.
it's like a dick punch.
So
What?
is
Katie
this the
Sackhoff
full
punched you in the dick.
Yeah,
Dude,
pretty
sack
did-
off? Get it? Huh? Get it?
Wow.
Anyway,
She knocked your sack off. Hey,
Nice.
but I have a question though, because you own an Oculus and the Vive, right? So is it the final version of both?
Yes.
Okay, so if you were gonna throw money down on one, not the other, which one and why?
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, I think it's a bit of a loaded question. I have to ask you: do you have space?
No.
This is the space podcast. In fact, no, I don't. No,
No.
I intend to primarily sit at my desk
Yeah.
and do this.
Okay. Well, I mean, honestly, so I don't play my Vive with the seated experience. So I mean, I just don't. I don't. Room scale is where Vive is at. You can play seated experiences, although there really aren't many on the Vive, as far as I know. And as far as I've played, I haven't played any Elite Dangerous. That is the only one I can think of.
Yeah, see, that's like giving me a shitty Connect feeling then.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what. If you have the space, Vive is a transformative experience. You will play some games that you would think, if I told you about them, that they sound like the most boring bullshit ever, right? But then you play it, and it's like, holy shit! I'm literally in the holodeck, and I'm living in Star Trek Next Generation. I mean, you're seeing the infancy of that. Of where we'll ultimately get to, but you're seeing the infancy now, and that's incredibly exciting. But I will say this: the Rift is a very slick experience. Like the setup experience is dead simple. You put that sensor right in front of your monitor, or off to the side. It doesn't have to be right in front, but you put on the headset. It's a very comfortable experience. It's got headphones that are attached that are actually worth a damn. Surprisingly, I didn't think they were going to be that great, but they're amazing. And it's just a very polished experience. Now, the downside is that you're playing with a gamepad right now. Every game on the Rift is gamepad. So
But that's fine with me because that's all I really want. And I want the thing to be a monitor replacement. Like, can I have my desktop on the thing and just have like I'm sitting in an IMAX theater working
well,
on
they
a
got that app
spreadsheet?
on Steam though now, don't they?
That app's kind of half baked though because it puts a little desktop in front of you in a big room, and
That's what
I
we
want
have right
multiple desktops all over.
right, yeah, that's your options right now. But I will say this: I know a company in Seattle that is working on a setup that is gonna immerse yourself, like wrap your head around, a virtual desktop, I guess you could say, but not
cool.
like the
See,
app
I
that
need
we're
some
talking about.
I need some Johnny Mnemonic shit. Like,
Yeah.
why has nobody like a launch? Oh, excuse me, hiccups are still going. A launch title for this thing should have been like a William Gibson Neuromancer cyberspace flight. Remember that game for the PlayStation 2, Res?
Yep.
Why the hell isn't there a Res for this thing day
Well,
one?
Well, there will be for PSVR. So, and I have one of those as well. And PSVR is it's interesting. It's a nice headset. I think people are going to really like Sony's offering.
Does it feel like half the price of the other one though?
No, not at all. I mean, I have an older, I guess a slightly older version than the newest one. It's probably, I guess, maybe a year old or so. But it's comfortable. It fits on. I'm really immersed. The only downside I would say with the one that I have, and I don't know if they fixed this yet because I haven't tried the newer kits, is there's a lot of light that comes in at underneath, like the nose area. There's a tremendous amount of light that comes in, and so it kind of you're not fully immersed in the experience because of that. But I like the headset. I mean, I've used it. We have our game running on all the platforms, and I would say Rift is number one. Sony is probably slightly number two, and Vive is number three. But
I do want to ask you though real quick about the Eve Valkyrie, since I am such a fan of that Eve universe. It looks good. My question is even though it is just mostly multiplayer, does it play well at all? Though, like, I mean, as like a dogfighting game in first person with VR, does it play well?
oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So maybe there's hope for something down the road. We can hope that maybe something.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like they have tons of I wouldn't say tons, but they do have microtransactions in it, and
that is a turn off.
I mean, and
I guess that's terms of it being free, right?
It's not free. Well, I guess if you pre-ordered the Rift, it's free. But if you didn't pre-order the Rift, it's $60.
Whoa! And
What?
then they microtransact you.
Yeah.
Good God, no.
So wait, what are the microtransactions for though?
Well, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I have not. I refuse to buy any of the microtransactions.
It's for bullets.
I haven't looked too deep into it. I think it's like
skins or
no, it's
weapons.
bullets. It's like, do you want to shoot? Like you fly it, but you want to shoot? Like it's $1 a shot. VR, it's the future now.
But I'll tell you what, man. Oh man, dogfighting in VR. Oh, holy shit! It is a transformative experience.
Yeah, see, I'm gonna need it for like Falcon, or playing Arma, or anything that I do with a track IR right now.
Yeah.
It needs to happen. It needs to happen in my Oculus, as if the Oculus was my monitor and it's got head tracking, so it always, I'm not looking out the corner of my eye anymore. I look where I look, and I don't even care about 3D at that point. 3D's a bonus on top of that, but I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, I mean, well, once you have once you're in VR, right? I mean, that is essentially 3D. One of the best experiences that I've played so far, honestly, was a game. It's not a game. There's some game aspects to it, but it's more of an experience. It's called Apollo 11 VR.
I saw that on Steam today.
Yes, it is. Holy shit! It brought tears to my eyes, and I can't even begin. It's imagine a documentary, but an interactive documentary where you're actually there in not just watching, but you're participating in the Apollo 11 mission. But when I say documentary, I mean imagine like all the sounds are directly recorded or played to you from the actual recordings of the Apollo 11 mission.
Oh wow!
So and they actually recreated in 3D, right? The capsule, and the launch, the launch vehicle, and the lander, everything down like they were, they basically built it and it to model or to spec, So everything you look around and yeah, they didn't write Buzz Aldrin and what's his face.
So do you have to like spend 3 days in it to get to the moon?
No, it's not like that. They actually, thank God.
You have to wear a diaper and pee in your pants, and
they actually go through
experience,
which actually would be kind of amazing. But
immersion, peeing in your pants.
It's got like a sensor you put down your pants, and yeah.
They basically cut through like the major parts of the mission, and so and they let you control. It's optional, but they let you actually control key parts of the mission. So like when you get on, when you connect with the lunar module in space after you launch, like you're orbiting Earth, you actually have to connect to the lunar module. That is done in real time, like you actually connect to it. And then when you land, that's done and you actually land. And then I think I haven't gotten past the landing part. I actually crash all the time. But I think after that, like you get to actually control a rover or like one of those. I guess you could call it a rover on the moon. So the rover, module.
That's cool. So the future that I see is whenever I look at Star Citizen, right? And Chris spent all that money hiring actors, and he basically rotoscopes everybody, right? And with motion capture and everything. So at that point, you have the actor, but in a 3D environment, and you can get the resolution up pretty good, and it looks enough like the person, right? So take a movie like Avatar, right? If you can get to that point in real time rendering or close enough, right? So at that point, you can be in the crowd scene and move around, right?
Yeah.
You could walk through the set and it's like, oh, they're giving a speech. Well, I can like walk around behind and look behind the curtain, or whatever. That's the thing that I look to happen in more interactive entertainment, even if it's just a story that you're in. Excuse me. It's killing me. Even if it's just a static story like a movie, but it's a movie that you're in the space of, so that could be pretty darn cool.
Yeah, I mean we're really at the infancy of VR, and it's exciting. I mean it really is exciting. Like even our game is still pretty early, but flying ultralights around this sort of stylistic world that we built. It's an island themed world, so it's just a variety of islands, and you fly ultralights and gyrocopters and helicopters.
Are there cannibals?
Not yet, but that's a good idea.
That would be incentive to not crash.
Remember Pilot Wings? Do you guys remember Pilot Wings?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
It's open world Pilot Wings. Imagine Pilot Wings, but in open world setting. That's what it is.
Do you have Hawkman mode or whatever that thing was called?
Like the jetpack stuff?
No, there was. Did you play Pilot Wings 64 where it was just like Birdman? No, it's Birdman. That's what it was, where you just like fly around with wings.
So one of the things about VR, especially flight games, is the sickness factor, or as everybody calls it in VR land, simulator sickness. So that's the thing that I wouldn't say struggled with, because I think we have a solution that helps solve the problem, but it is fundamentally a problem with flight games. You get sick, and especially if you have an FOV that is unrestricted. So what I mean is that if you have an open-aired cockpit and you're flying around, it's a recipe for disaster. So for me, it is. Everybody's different. You could have totally different experiences, but I mean, dude, we have some aircraft in the game that I struggle with flying. So we've actually developed our own sort of system where we we build these cockpits in two different ways. We have an open air cockpit where you can just look around and your view's not restricted. Then we have another version of the cockpit that makes the windows opaque and basically restricts your peripheral vision. It blocks your peripheral vision from seeing all around you. and you look out, and it's sort of like tunnel vision in a sense. You can look out in front of you. Except for us, we still want the idea of being able to look around, but what we do is we alpha out the windows based on your gaze. So when you look to the right, the windows alpha out, and you can look outside. You look to your left, it'll go back to opaque, and then you can, the left window would alpha out. So we have all these windows around, and it almost looks like a TIE fighter in a sense, but the windows alpha out based on where you're looking at. So it blocks your peripheral vision, which is the primary cause from our research and from talking to Oculus, is the primary cause of simulator sickness when you're moving around in the world and you're rolling and you're banking and whatnot. But it still gives you the ability to look around. So, and it actually solves all of our simulator sickness issues.
Well, after so many hours playing around with it, does the simulator sickness thing go away? Like your brain gets used to it and it's not an issue anymore?
Yeah, it's like when you get your VR legs. That's what they call it. VR. Get your VR legs. It will go away once you get acclimated to the experience. But the thing is that anytime you change it up, meaning we have multiple aircraft in the game, so when you start going faster, it sort of resets the clock for getting used to that aircraft. So yeah, it's really really interesting. Like it's really interesting work that is all brand new, really, to everybody is trying to combat those issues, because the last thing we want is for people to play our game and puke city within the first couple of minutes, right? That's terrible.
Hey, I do have a question. Let's go back to Fleets of Soul real quick. So with Fleets of Soul, are you gonna make this game moddable at all? Is it gonna be? Can I add in some models here and there, or make my own custom scenarios, or?
Yeah, I mean possibly. I mean we added what workshop support for Battle Soul, so it's not inconceivable for us to add that into Fleets of Soul. So yeah, I mean it's possible, but I can't give a time frame as to when that'll happen. Yeah, but it's certainly possible.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, sorry, I am really under the weather right now, so you're gonna have to forgive me. So, like, my big question is, how much work was it transitioning from a game revolving around fighters to a kind of survival game transitioning around capital ships? I mean, you already had like the framework of the universe and the world building in place, but I would think the mechanics would be way different for a game like this than the games you had worked on before.
Yeah. Well, the camera was one of the biggest. I mean, I wouldn't say the biggest hurdle, but it was a huge hurdle. I mean, I would say it's up there in the top 3. And I still say it needs work, but getting the camera to be more of a, I guess you could call it an RTS style camera, but it's not really RTS because you're still in the world. Homeworld was, definitely an inspiration. And then getting it so that you're controlling capital ships and making that interesting. Like dogfighting is inherently interesting, I think. You're flying around, you're shooting, it's all about killing, pew pew pew. Controlling capital ships, big lumbering beasts, giving them the multiple abilities, making them interesting, and then making that moment to moment, gameplay interesting was probably the biggest challenge, and went through countless iterations before we were, reasonably happy with the end result. So that was probably the biggest hurdle to retrain our brain from, dogfighting to more of a macro ship management type of game where it's wasn't about shooting down individual ships, and it was more about managing your fleet and what ships you have and what technologies you want to research and so on and so forth.
Right. Now, how much, because I've noticed the missions seem, and you'll have to forgive me if this sounds a bit forced. We're working with this new format, and I wrote some questions down in advance. We're playing with it. But the encounters that you go through, like you said earlier, are procedural, I think. So how much variety can one have when you jump from one encounter to the next? Because I noticed that you can have one where you're just trading, and one where you're. Most of them seem to be raids of like refineries. But what else can you run into while you're out there?
Yeah, well, I mean, trading is one. Obviously, ambushes. Sometimes your home base will get ambushed, and you'll need to
Oh,
go back. Yep, yep.
oh, that has not happened in my game yet.
I think the further you get on, or the further jumps you do, the more likelihood that will happen. So that the chances increase.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering how many jumps can a typical game take? Because I think I'm about 20 in my current game, and I've only rescued like 10,000 colonists
Yeah,
so far.
yeah. Well, I've seen people get into the 70s before they make the final jump.
Wow.
So there is an end game to it. There is.
Right.
It's not. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can't beat it. So unlike every other survival game out there, we do have end game, scenarios basically that you can make the final jump and then go through a set of scenarios to actually make it home. So you can technically beat the game, but
Right.
it's an optional. So you don't have to make the final jump. You can just keep going for kind of as long as you want. We've had people, I think, get into the hundreds of jumps. I played for 30 hours. It's crazy. Like
Is that so they can upgrade everything before they go and get as much scrap as salvage as possible?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where they love playing the game so much they just don't want it to end. It's weird. I mean, it's cool that they love it that much, but
Hmm.
yeah, they just kind of just keep playing and they don't really ever really feel like beating it per se. But the option is there for you to do so. So
Well, one thing I like is that the game starts a bit differently based on who you choose to be your commander. But not only that, but you can choose your side character and your wing commander
yeah,
as well, which I like because that gives variety. Like I think in my current game, I chose the one who gets extra salvage as the commander because I like that. And I chose the scientist who has all the probes, and the pilots who get extra. The pilot guy who can train a pilot in one turn instead of three.
right, right.
Now I'm a little. There are a few things I'm a little confused about in playing, which I wanted to ask you about. One, when you're does training pilots mean you can build more ships because then you have more pilots to fly them?
No, no. Training pilots gives you just more ships in general to what you have. So
Oh,
it's one of those. Yeah. So it's like you have to build ships, and I think you're talking about advanced mode primarily.
yeah.
Advanced mode, yeah, you have to build ships, and then you have to build pilots, or you have to train pilots to actually fly those ships. But to build new ships, or requires the whole tech tree and research and whatnot. But yeah, you actually have to train pilots to fly the ships that you build. So it's not building ships doesn't equally doesn't mean you have a free ship basically.
Because I noticed I might be remembering this wrong, but I think the game wouldn't let me build any new fighters or anything until I trained some new pilots, which I actually kind of liked because that made sense to me. I think that's what it was doing anyway. Because at one point I couldn't build any new ships, and I had the salvage for it, but it was only after I trained some pilots.
Oh yeah, well I could be mistaken. You're probably right. So I'm wrong.
But I did want to ask about one thing. The interface is, I'm going to be honest, it's kind of driving me a little batty.
Yeah.
The interface in terms of selecting one of my ships and then selecting an enemy to attack, because for some reason the mouse doesn't exactly go on the icon, it seems. So like I'll try and select an enemy ship for an attack, but then it'll just make a waypoint and my ship will start moving. So I'm wondering, is there anything I can do to make the interface a little easier on myself?
Yeah, the interface is something that I'm not gonna lie, we definitely I would say struggled with, because the way we constructed the interface was so radically different from Battle of Soul that
Sure.
that it I would say that it definitely needs some improvements to it to make it a little bit easier to. I mean, the problems that you're reporting are known, and it's something that we want to do. It's
that's
on our
good.
radar. But yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't really have. I mean, the frustrations that you're talking about are my frustrations as well.
Okay.
And,
I'm not trying to come down your game. I'm just trying to.
No. I think it's good. I think it's great to point that out. Absolutely.
Because I was thinking what might work for my brain is like you have. I like how this is set up, where you have our fleet on the right side and the enemy fleet, and then just a simple line of icons. That I like that. I was thinking maybe it would make sense to be able to drag your ship to the ship you wanted to attack, and give it like an attack order that way, maybe.
Yeah.
That might be what would work for me. Like you select your Orion, drag it to a gunship, it starts attacking that gunship.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I was thinking anyway. That's kind of my idea. But yeah, I mean, it took, because like for the first few missions, I was like, why aren't you attacking that guy? Why are you moving over there? And it took me a while to kind of finesse it and learn how to finesse it. So it's getting better. But I do really like the randomness of it. And I like how you don't know exactly what you're going to get into. And even if you launch a probe and you kind of know what you're going to get into, you still don't know exactly what you're going to get into. But one thing I like in the game that gets talked about a bit in the tutorial, but I like that it's there, is stress levels. I like that the game monitors your fleet's stress levels.
Right.
And I like that. I really like that the alert status you set for your fleet can really alter their stress level. Like if you keep yourself at red alert, like high alert, like launch ready, scramble all the time, your crew's going to get really stressed. Now what happens, because I haven't gotten far enough in to see this yet, but what happens when your crew really gets stressed, like after they pass a certain stress threshold? Will they be less effective? What exactly happens when they get too stressed?
Their effectiveness goes way down for sure, to the point where I think they refuse to give you to follow your orders. Like it's like they kind of do their own thing, and it definitely you know, it's one of those things where you get to a point of no return, and you need to get their stress level down in order to get them to follow what you want them to do, or to get them to really do anything. So I think it's like, yeah, it's one of those things where I don't think you ever get to a point where you're just truly fucked, but you definitely will get to a point where you need to get a handle of the situation and give them some R&R, I guess you could say.
How do you give them R&R?
Make sweet love to them.
Oh, so it's kind of like Mass Effect.
It's hentai.
God damn it! I have
Mass Effect.
I think it's like going back to your home base and yeah, making sweet love to them. I think it's like an effect that wears down over time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know. Well, like once you're married for a while, it just doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. But again, I did like that that's modeled, because that makes sense. You're a crew on the run, like one thing I thought that it was capturing fairly well was I don't know if you've ever seen the Battlestar Galactica, the new one. I'm sure you have ever.
Oh, dude, really? Are you really gonna ask?
I
me?
don't.
I've never
I
seen
don't
it.
assume. I try not to assume.
You should.
But
you should very much assume.
okay, but a lot of this made me feel like I was watching like an interactive episode of 33. Remember,
Yep.
and 33 I think is one of the finest bits of science fiction on film ever made. Just
Agreed.
that's why the rest of the show, it's like it's all downhill after that. You know what I mean? Well, come on,
It's okay.
come on. Most of season 3 and season 4.
It was uphill until Starbuck came back from the dead, and then it was straight down a cliff.
I mean, I love I love Romo Lampkin. I love Romo Lampkin, but he cannot overcome the Starbuck is an angel thing. He can't.
Yeah.
We didn't get to that. Like, listen, we're not gonna have a Battlestar debate right now.
It's happening.
I think the show turned to shit after the boxing episode. That was it for. No, I'm kidding. Sort of.
Continue.
I think the first season was absolutely, in my opinion, amazing.
Really?
Like, first season I loved. Okay, I'll be honest with you. Yes, it was a bit of a roller coaster, but I actually loved the ending. I thought it was inventive.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. It made me think about things. I guess had they gone to what the old show was, which were like what they ended up in the 80s or something like that, and
One thing.
80s.
Let's not talk about Battlestar 1980. Let's not talk about that.
Let's take into consideration something that happened with Battlestar, though. Okay, and a lot of TV shows actually suffered during this time. But when Battlestar was going on, you also had the massive writer's strike that happened, which is why there was also a really awkward silence between halfway through season 4. Like halfway through season 4, there was just this like really long awkward break between like season 4 and season 4.5.
Yep,
like
I remember that.
But they were doing that. They were doing that for a while now. They'd be like season 2, then 2.5. They'd have these long breaks.
They didn't do that. They didn't do that until season 3. Season 3 is when they broke it up, but they sold it that way. But they didn't do really long breaks in between the two. Season 4 is when they had the really long break. And it was almost like The Walking Dead or Doctor Who now, where they take like these stupid long breaks in between seasons or halfway between seasons.
It kills its momentum. It really
kills its momentum, and I think that's what part of the big problem was with Battlestar.
Can't disagree with you there.
As well as the writer's strike really affected them and other shows. And to top it all off, the show got canceled, so that's why they had to end it where they did. Like season 4 was like, all right, well we're writing this ending because the show's done after season 4, and like they're like, okay, well I guess we have to write an ending, and so that's what happened. All that being said, though, there's just something about it that I really liked.
Yeah,
but I can't discredit the shit.
Yeah.
But anyway, I really liked that it was trying to capture that like tense on the run feel that 33 captured in Battlestar Galactica more than just about anything else in science fiction, I think. So guys, if you're looking for that kind of survival in a space game, this is a good one. this is a good one.
It'll scratch that itch, I think. I think for those, it puts you. I guess it puts you really like knee deep in the shit, I guess, and you're always sort of on the run. Similar to that show. I think it definitely was an inspiration. It was like, how can we turn that show into a game? Was sort of the tagline.
Yeah, and I like that because you do have like Diaspora, which took the fighter element of Battlestar and made it into a game, which was amazing. But here you're scrounging for fuel, you're scrounging for, what is it, salvage or scrap in the game? I'm not remembering.
Salvage.
I think salvage, which is what you use not only to
that was a pretty explosion.
Yeah, not only to repair ships, but do research, which I like. Now, yeah, you were saying this game is Unreal Tournament, Unreal Tournament, haha, Unreal 3. It still looks really good for being. I don't know if it's that aged, but it doesn't look that aged to me.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a testament to, our ship models. We had a couple new ships made, but a lot of those assets that we have in that game were taken from Battle of Soul. I mean, to be
Right, of
honest with
course, of course.
it uses a lot of the same assets, except for the Olympus, the big ship that you control. That's obviously a new ship that we built for fleets.
Is that the cylindrical like round ship? Is that the?
No, that's the big, like, that's your main ship, the Olympus. I think in a future update, the name right now is broken, but the name of the ship, it's actually supposed to be on the ship itself. But the Olympus is actually the main ship that you control, right? That big hulking capital ship with the dual hangar bays. Like, just one in the aft and the other side.
Yeah. That's the Orion. That's like the big Orion class one. That's your main ship. That's your main like home base in Battle of Soul. But no, I was thinking the ring ship. It's like a ring, and it's kind of looks Deep Space Nine-ish. Like
Yeah.
What?
No, that's not the Olympus. That's I forget the name. I'll have to look.
Is that new? Because I don't remember seeing that. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because I don't remember seeing that one before. And I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, that is a new ship. But actually, what's funny is I think that is a scaled down version of our temple. I mean, scaled down and altered, heavily altered version of our temple from Soul Exodus. Do you remember the temple?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was wondering why it looked familiar. That makes total sense.
Yep.
That makes total sense. So we talked about. Let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to stick with this format here. We talked about the technical stuff. Talked about. Do you guys have any other questions? Because I'm honestly out of questions.
No, I think you've got a really good game going on, man. What are your plans for the future with it? Are you gonna keep doing more stuff with it? Any expansions, DLC, any of that stuff?
Well, I know the immediate goals are to get the Toby eye tracking stuff sort of solidified. We have a rough implementation in there now, but it needs some definite improvements. But that's in our immediate future. The next patch will be a big improvement to the Toby eye tracking stuff, which I don't know if you guys have played around with the Toby stuff, but I mean, it's pretty awesome.
What is that? I have not played around with that. What is that?
So Toby is a Swedish company that makes these eye tracker attachments that you plug into the USB 3 slot in the computer, and it hooks up to like the bottom of your monitor. And we put in the functionality, or we added support for that in Battle Soul, where you can think of it like Track IR in a sense, but for your eyeballs, not for your head movements. So Track IR tracks your head movements, right? The Toby stuff actually tracks your eye movements. So if you look in Battle Soul, if you look in the corners of the screen, it'll move the camera. It'll increase basically your FOV, so you can actually look around as if you were in the cockpit. And it's all based on your eyes, not your head movement.
Oh, well, oh yeah, I'm looking at this thing right now. It's like a little eye tracker that you put at like the bottom of your monitor or something.
Yep.
If that was accurate and sensitive, it would make for like a hell of an aim system for a first-person shooter.
Oh god.
It's like you just look at somebody and pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
It is. I don't. It's a great thing for cockpit-based games. It's also they've added into the Division, and it's really cool for tagging enemies. And
I really see the porn application though.
Oh.
I was waiting until we got to that. So
it ties into the R&R section of your game.
Oh
Exactly.
boy. Oh boy.
Loving it.
But
I knew there was a reason why I came back on. Am I the guest that's been on the most? Is it going to be like a Saturday Night Live thing, where it's like Alec Baldwin is like the one that's hosted the show the most?
You might be tied with another gentleman named a gentleman named Paul, who.
Oh well, there's many Pauls.
No.
Counting Pauls.
Sword of the Stars Paul, who I believe has been on. I believe he's been on 3 times as well. He was on for Sword of the Stars, and then Homeworld Cataclysm, and then I think another one maybe. So I'm honestly, I should go back and look, but you might be. If not, you're tied with that guy.
Hey, I'll take time. It's cool.
But yeah,
I love talking to you guys, so it's always good.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. I'm sorry about the technical troubles you were having.
That's my fault.
It's weird that apparently Mumble only wanted to use the microphone on your Vive, which is odd.
It is odd because I have a webcam that I normally use, right, for my microphone, and no bueno. Have to use the Vive.
Well, it sounds like a pretty good microphone. So yeah, we had no problems hearing you, so that was pretty cool. So guys, the game is Fleets of Soul. It is on Steam right now. For how much is it going for? I forget.
$7.99, $8.
That's not bad. So, Chris, if people want to follow you on Twitter or your website, where can they get in touch with you?
Might be $9. So Twitter is my personal Twitter is Stocks109, so they can follow me on there. My BitPlanet Games has got its own Twitter. And the games have their own Twitter, but I mean, I would use either my personal or BitPlanet Games.
And that's just at BitPlanet Games.
Yeah, at BitPlanet Games or at Stocks109.
Okay. And for us co-hosts, you can find me at, obviously, Space Game Junkie. Jim, where can folks find you on Twitter?
Under the couch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, actually they can't because
my
Twitter account is the hiddens.
Oh, well,
yeah,
okay.
It's now classified.
Okay. Hunter, do you have a Twitter account you want to share?
Yeah, you guys can find me at Hunter H4X. That's where I'm at, Hunter Hacks H4X. So.
Okay. And folks, we, as always, invite you to check out the site spacegamejunkie.com and our Patreon at patreon.com/spacegamejunkie. Next week on the show, we are switching things around a little bit because our guests are overseas. We're going to be talking to the folks at Little Green Men, LGM, about their upcoming Starpoint Gemini game, Warlords. But not next Tuesday because they're in Europe. We're talking to them next Saturday morning. We all agreed to that. I'm not sure exactly why, but we did. So, folks, the podcast will not be next Tuesday. It'll be next Saturday. Next Tuesday, we're going to try and do something else, which we're still working on. But, folks, I want to thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode.
Before we wrap that up, though, head on over to our Facebook group because there's a lot of chatter going on over there, lots of great discussions, as well as check out our Slack because there's always something going on. So come hang out with us, chit-chat, talk about games. A lot of fun.
And if you like the new format or if you have any suggestions or concerns or questions about the new format, don't hesitate to hit us up either in the YouTube comments or in the comments on the website. We are always happy to hear what you guys have to say. So thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. And have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.